Hi, welcome to the KitchenAid Ankarsrum and Ooni Spiral Pro Mixer Showdown. This is the first video of this kind that I've made, and I want to start by saying that I'm not sponsored by any of these. The Ankarsrum was a gift, and I bought the KitchenAid and Ooni Spiral Pro Mixer. A little bit of motivation behind making this video and doing this comparison. I do a lot of cooking, but I recently started baking bread about 2 or 3 years ago, and quickly ran into the limitations of the KitchenAid, which I'll talk about later. I've had the KitchenAid for many, many years, but with the addition of baking bread and really needing a larger capacity bowl, I wanted to see if one of the larger options could possibly entirely replace the KitchenAid, or if I'd need to supplement it somehow. So if you're interested in my conclusions, you can just jump towards the end of this video. Otherwise, stick around and we'll walk through everything. Let's start with the packaging. I don't have any of the packaging from the KitchenAid. I bought that really, really long time ago. But here's the Ankarsrum on the left and the Ooni Spiral Pro Mixer on the right. The Ankarsrum has molded styrofoam inserts. And yeah, that's basically it. Nice double wall box. The Ooni Spiral Pro Mixer came in a larger box and has molded cardboard padding in it, which is, I think, much nicer than the styrofoam and more environmentally friendly. The Ankarsrum came with wrapped in plastic bags, which I threw away, but the Ooni came and its accessories came wrapped in these cloth bags, which, if these are cotton, that's great environmentally, but if they're polyester, that's actually worse than the thin sheet plastic bags. But I can't really tell. Again, double wall box. Overall, nice packaging, I think. This is the KitchenAid. It's a standard tilting head mixer. This is what I'm going to use as my baseline because this is what I had originally, and so I'll be comparing the other two to each other and to the KitchenAid. This has been a great machine. Haven't had many problems with it. I replaced the governor, speed governor in it, and something else that I forgot what. I have 2 bowls for it, which is really convenient, and these are the attachments. I replaced the stock dough hook with a better stainless steel dough hook, but yeah, otherwise essentially a stock KitchenAid. This is the Ankarsrum. I'm going to talk about all the different parts it came with now. So there's a base to it. It's got the speed knob and on and off knob. It's got a bowl. This is removable. The bowl spins in the Ankarsrum, as well as the Ooni Spiral Pro Mixer. But nothing else actually moves inside of the bowl here, at least for this bowl. I'll talk about this in a second. The base has a attachment port for other attachments, to power other attachments. You actually have to turn the whole base on its side. Here's how you set it on its side to use the attachment port. I mean, that's just really, really weird, an awkward thing to do. The KitchenAid, you just attach stuff to the front port. But for this, you actually have to turn it all the way on its side to use attachments. I don't actually own any of the attachments. They're very, very expensive. Okay, so yeah, main bowl. Got a bowl scraper here, made of plastic. There's the dough hook here, which helps with does the kneading action as the bowl spins. There's an arm, which you adjust with this knob here. This only adjusts the amount that this is like a stop adjustment. It stops just the amount that it can move and stop this way. If it's still free to move this direction, but it controls how far it stops. And then there's a dough roller, which you can put in place of the dough hook with this little pin that slides up and down. And this sits up against the wall of the bowl, and using this rubber piece rubs on the rim, and as the bowl spins, this rolls against it and rolls your dough. And this is made of plastic as well. So I've taken the main bowl out. I guess talk about some materials here. This is all metal, which is really nice. This is metal, I think aluminum maybe. This is all steel, I think here, chrome plated. Now the front though is plastic, and the knobs are plastic, I believe. They might be metal. Yeah, the knobs might be metal, but the whole base is actually plastic on this. And the attachment spline is also plastic. And this is the driving shaft for the beater attachment. It's got a slot in it that fits onto that bar in there. So this spins. The bowl itself doesn't spin. It slides on like that. And then the beater attachment itself is geared. It's got a gear in it. So as that gear spins, it spins this gear, which gears it up so that it's a faster RPM on the beater attachments. And there's two attachment types. There's call them cookie beaters, maybe cookie dough beaters, which are attached now, and then the standard beater attachments. This goes like this, and then as it, I can just turn it on. That's how that works. Some things about this. This bowl is 7 quarts, I think. It's fairly large. But this one is actually about the same capacity as the KitchenAid. I think it's about 4.5 quarts. And then what else is come with? It came with a bowl scraper and a lid so that you can cover both the main bowl and the beater bowl. And then a whole bunch of documentation, including a manual, which is critical to figuring out how this thing actually works. I had to watch multiple YouTube videos and read the manual in order to get the dough hook adjustment thing working right. And then it also comes with a recipe book. The Ooni has its, I guess, driver stand. It's got a push button here to lift it up, so it's kind of a tilting head design. The base is metallic mostly, except again, like the Ankarsrum, the bottom is plastic. Bowl stainless steel. It has locking splines on the bottom. You can see that. This is actually pretty cool. It's laser welded. I thought that was neat. And then this part here, driving part, is metal, but this, where the locking tines are, I don't know what you call it, but this is actually plastic. So I could see this wearing out long term. But yeah, just like the Ankarsrum, the bowl spins on the Ooni, so this rotates. But unlike the Ankarsrum, this is a true spiral mixer. So it's got a drive here, and it comes with a breaker bar, which mounts into here. Just thread that on there. And the dough hook, this is a spring-loaded mount setup, so you can see that, and that's all metal in there, which is nice. So those are stainless steel. It also comes with a paddle attachment, which has silicone bowl scraper on it. So this mounts in the same drive attachment, and this is profiled to fit exactly up against the bowl sides. And then it also has a beater attachment. The case is plastic, and I opened this up. The gears in it are plastic, unfortunately. And then the actual attachment itself, just like the Ankarsrum, the thing that holds the splines, whatever you call them, is plastic. And so this mounts in there so that the metal shaft goes into the driving part, and then this screws onto the thing that the breaker bar goes into. And it spins close to the side of the bowl, but not up against it. So I'll talk about a trick for getting around dough sticking to the side walls, because this does not come with a dough scraper. And then finally, it's got a removable lid thing. Oh, it's not really a lid, like that's a lid for the Ankarsrum. This is like a splash guard type thing with a pouring spout. It's, I think, made of acrylic. This one has a digital display on it. I'll go and turn it on. There's a switch in the back. You press the button, and you've got speed and a timer on this. So just turning the knob adjusts the speed, and pressing the knob turns it off or on. So that's basic functionality there. You can hear the fan in the back. There's a fan back here. And those are all the major components of all three of the competitors. So KitchenAid pros and cons. I really like this machine, to be honest. It has been very, very useful long term. There's a reason it's so popular. It's incredibly versatile. The rotary action on this, it makes mixing and beating very fast, convenient. It's durable. At least the older models are very durable. Stainless steel bowl is wonderful. In fact, most of the apparatus is metal, including all of the attachments. Yeah, it's been a great workhorse. Really, there are only two downsides that I have with this machine. One is the size of the bowl. It's only 4.5 quarts. They make bigger models, obviously. I don't have one, so it's not part of this comparison. And the fact that it's not a true spiral mixer, which hasn't been a big problem. I mean, the aftermarket dough hook works pretty well, but I think it's pretty clear from the results that I've had that it doesn't work as well as a spiral mixer at kneading doughs. Pros and cons of the Ankarsrum. I like that most of the body is metal. That's really nice. I like that the dough hook is metal. The bowl is metal. It has lots of attachments. I think it has pretty much everything that the KitchenAid has available as an attachment. Can be bought for the Ankarsrum, but they are quite expensive, as I mentioned previously, and unfortunately, they're almost entirely plastic. All of the attachments. There are some metal parts in them, but they are very heavily plastic oriented. The setup with the dough hook and scraper, I think, maybe needs dough a little bit better than the KitchenAid does. It's certainly a lot slower at kneading, and it's finicky and takes a long time to learn how to adjust all of this right to get it to knead. In fact, I found that even with the dough hook, I had to sit here and babysit it while it was kneading, which, because it takes longer, makes it inconvenient. A 7-quart bowl makes making double, triple, larger batches of breads and doughs and everything much easier. Being able to pour into an open bowl like this is far easier and superior, in my opinion, than trying to pour in the gap between the head of a KitchenAid and its bowl. I definitely like that feature better. And with the beater attachments on it and the way this is geared, the fact that it's sort of a U-shaped profile here, right? And all of that makes it so that this will beat faster than the KitchenAid will, significantly faster, noticeably faster. So whipping cream or eggs is much faster. Now for things I don't like, I already mentioned a few of these. Like it's difficult to learn how to use the dough hook and dough roller. So there's guidelines for when to use one versus the other. But yeah, it's still a learning curve. And I think a lot of other people have said similar things. And to be honest, the dough hook and dough scraper, it doesn't seem to work very well sometimes, especially on like wet doughs. The bowl just slides past them. Right, it's the bowl sliding and the hook is fixed, and so the only thing driving motion is the friction between the bowl walls and bottom and the dough. And so if there isn't a lot of friction there, it doesn't knead very well. And that's after mixing, right? There's a whole spiel in the guide and everything about the order of which you add watery ingredients and dry ingredients and stuff. And I followed all of that. So after, even after it's already mixed, it's still, I think, slow in that regard. The other thing is, and I think this is related. It's not a true spiral mixer. This hook is stationary, right? There is no breaker bar or additional action happening inside of here to mix dough like a spiral mixer does. So yeah, it's not one of those, as much as some people want to claim it is. I don't like some of the material stuff, and it's sort of hinting in that. The fact that this is plastic, the fact that there's gaps. This plastic, there's gaps here that flour and stuff can get in. Don't like that. The bowl is plastic. You can buy a metal one of these, but I think it's $180, which is insane. This is all plastic. Has a lot of play in the gears. These are plastic, and these are plastic. And worse off, you can't put these in the dishwasher. You can put the bowl in, but you can't put the beater attachments or the beater gear part in the dishwasher, or the spline. I think like the driving shaft. I don't think you can put that in either. But you can put the bowl in. You can put the dough roller in the wash, and you can put the dough scraper in the wash. Other things, right? The scraper is plastic, so it's rubbing up against the wall and probably generating tons of microplastics continuously. I'm guessing that will wear out eventually and will need to be replaced, which means you're eating all of the weared out plastic. When I first installed this, because it fits onto the shaft, this is I think a Seidel or Delrin type bushing, and it like shed a whole bunch of little black plastic flakes everywhere. Fortunately I don't think any of them got into the dough I was making, but that was kind of gross. Material construction, I'm not a huge fan of that. And the fact that I can't machine wash everything, that's also not great. Another thing I don't like about this is that there isn't an equivalent of the KitchenAid paddle attachment for this. The closest thing are these cookie beater things, which are, not particularly strong, they're pretty flexible. And what this means is that you can't do anything like incorporating cold butter with this. It just doesn't work. And in addition to that, like creaming soft butter and sugar together, it simply doesn't work as well as the KitchenAid paddle attachment. There's no way around that. It also doesn't work great on really large amounts of dough in this, or very small. Found that like medium amounts of medium wet dough are like optimal for this kind of thing. Or if you're like just beating a bunch of eggs, or trying to make a whole bowl of whipped cream or something. That tends to work fairly well with the beating and whisk attachments. I made butterscotch cookies with chips. The butterscotch chips, kind of like chocolate chips, with this, and it definitely struggles with any kind of hard ingredients in your batter. And so that's the whole Ankarsrum review. Okay, let's talk the Ooni. I mentioned this a few times before, but this is an actual spiral mixer. And for this price point, that's pretty incredible. Most of them available ones are at least double what this costs. So I've got the breaker bar and dough hook in there, and I'm going to turn this on so you can see the action. So you've got the bowl spinning and the spiral mixer going with the breaker bar in there. And that is what gets you extremely well kneaded mixed doughs, especially for breads and things like that. Yeah, that's really my favorite thing about this machine, I think. Um, uh, the mostly metal attachments are nice. I'm not a fan of the plastic on this, though. Unlike the Ankarsrum, this is machine washable, not the gearbox, but this part that detaches. This can actually be put in the washing machine, which is great. Um, and there really isn't a reason to wash this. At most, you get some flour on it, and you can just wipe it off. But longevity wise, I'm worried about the fact that this is plastic and has plastic gears in it. But I guess we'll see. It's necessary though, because this gears up the speed of this. As you saw, the speed that this was rotating at, you just can't beat anything with it. You really need a gearbox to make it spin faster. Thing worth mentioning, this doesn't have any slop in it. I mean, it's a really nicely designed attachment system, unlike the Ankarsrums, where there's a lot of slop in this gearbox, and it can cause skipping as you're trying to mix things. Like the Ankarsrum, there's a lot more room to pour ingredients than the KitchenAid, though not as much as the Ankarsrum. The Ankarsrum is very open. This has a little bit of the head covering the bowl. It's a really large bowl. It's nice. It's 7 point something quarts. I think it's about the same capacity as the Ankarsrums. You can make small batches of dough with this. The manual says there's a minimum of like, I said 1 kilogram of dough or something, but that's absolutely not true. You can do a lot less than that. I've made like single 8x8 cake pan cakes with this using the paddle attachment. Though there's a trick to it. You have to get a silicone spatula, ideally one with a little bit of a curve on it like that, and hold it down in the bowl, kind of like that. And you can hold it here or whatever, but as it spins, you hold it here, and it acts as a bowl scraper and scrapes the dough off towards the rotating paddle mixer. And that allows you to make small batches of stuff with this. I have a preliminary design for making an actual affixed attachment that's a bowl scraper for this. Emailed Ooni about that and said, like, if you're not already planning to come out with one in the next 6 months, I'm just going to make this. And they sent back it was, the email didn't explicitly say that they were developing one, but it heavily hinted at it. So I suspect that a bowl scraper attachment is incoming for the Ooni, which will be great. It would allow making small batches, though not quite as small as the KitchenAid can handle. Like KitchenAid, I can beat a single egg, and you can't do that in the Ooni. This trick also works on small batches of bread dough. So even without the paddle attachment in there, if you're trying to make like a single loaf of bread, this trick allows you to do that. Without this, there's just not enough dough in here to interact with the spiral hook, so it kind of sticks to where the spiral hook doesn't get to it. As for larger batches, this thing works great. It kneads and mixes greater than a kilogram or larger of dough very, very easily and fast. The things I don't like, I mentioned this before, the base is plastic. The entire bottom of this is plastic, so that's a longevity concern. These little handle things here are plastic, again, longevity concern. I don't like digital electronics in my appliances. This is a common failure point in many appliances, and again, so this is a longevity concern to me. Though it looks sleek, right? Looks wise, this thing is amazing, but yeah, I'm not a fan of digital displays like this. Mentioned the plastic bowl attachment points, so I'll get a close-up of those now. It's this. This is plastic in here. This is metal, but this is plastic. This plastic lid feels really cheap and flimsy. I suspect that this will break pretty quick. Fortunately, I don't actually use it that often, so maybe it'll last a few years. But and I'm sure you can hear it and have heard it throughout this video. That cooling fan runs continuously, basically. I mean, it'll shut off in about 5 minutes or so, probably. But it's kind of quiet, but it is a little annoying. The Ankarsrum and KitchenAid don't have that. This guard here is plastic, and there's also a gap here. I get the point of this is to keep stuff from going in there, but I mean, if you've got splashes of stuff and flour up here, it's going to go down into that crack. I mean, there's no way around that. This probably could have been designed a little better. And that's where the motor lives, right? Unlike on the KitchenAid, where the motor is up in the top, and this is just the base, so it doesn't really matter if stuff gets in there. I think the motor for this is down here, I think, or maybe it's up in here. I don't know. But there's probably important stuff down in here that this would get gunk on. It works for whisking stuff in smaller batches of doughs. It does. It is less efficient than the KitchenAid and Ankarsrum, really, for things that the Ankarsrum can handle. By less efficient, I mean slower. And I guess it sort of makes sense, right? With the Ankarsrum, you have this U-shaped bowl with these attachments, fit in really nicely and spin around rapidly. It's very, very fast. For the KitchenAid, you have, attachment that's spinning and rotating around the bowl just off the bowl surface. Again, very fast. For the Ooni, this sits about there, so it's not up against the side of the bowl. It's spaced off a little bit off the bottom and the side, and it spins pretty fast, but not like as fast as the Ankarsrum can spin it. So if you do a lot of like small batches of stuff, or beating eggs, like small numbers of eggs or stuff like that, this machine just isn't going to work. Even with the silicone spatula trick, it might work if you sit there and scrape it off a whole lot. I tried it once with beating 3 eggs, and I gave up after a few minutes and just poured it into the KitchenAid and beat them in the KitchenAid. But I think if you were doing like 6 eggs or more, yeah, you could definitely beat them with this. Or making a ton of whipped cream, yeah, you could probably do it with this. But yeah, small batches of stuff, it's less efficient. And then there's one other really minor thing with this. There's a small divot here, and the reason it's there is because the way the silicone paddle attachment here works, it's to keep ingredients out of the very center of the bowl. It's slanted here, and so it helps keep things mixed. So I get why they did it, but when you're washing this in the dishwasher, you get a little bit of water collecting there, which is a really minor nit, but it's infinitely better than the Ankarsrum in that regard, because the Ankarsrum has this huge bowl impression that just totally fills up with icky, gross water when you wash it in the dishwasher. Conclusion time. So who won the showdown? I don't think there's a clear winner. They all have their pros and cons. The KitchenAid, I think, is the most versatile of all of them. Extremely long history of reliability. I like the materials that it's made out of. It's generally good at most things. Really, the only major downside is the capacity. As for the Ankarsrum, I really wanted that to work. Like I went in with this with a bias towards wanting it to work, because ideally I would wanted to replace the KitchenAid with a single mixer, and not have like a separate bread mixer and the KitchenAid at the same time. The Ankarsrum, I mean, it has the larger capacity. It has a lot of attachments. It can do, you know, most things okay, but it, I mean, it's got some serious flaws in my opinion. I mean, the materials, there's a lot of plastic. I don't like that. Just, you know, there's not just the like the microplastics reason, but for longevity concerns. There's the fact that I mean, it's got the larger capacity for kneading doughs, but it just doesn't work that well. Like it does work, but it's slow, and requires tending, and I don't want to have to do that. So yeah, kind of, I don't know if disappointed is the right word. Like it does work, right? But yeah, I was really hoping for it to be able to replace my KitchenAid entirely, and I don't think it can. It just doesn't have something equivalent to the paddle attachment, and can't do everything that the KitchenAid can do. And then there's the Ooni. This is the best price point spiral mixer that you can buy currently. Like it is the cheapest spiral mixer available. And it works like a spiral mixer. It works for kneading doughs. It's great for making breads. Yeah. I mean, if you want a home kitchen, you know, personal kitchen spiral mixer, this is an excellent option. It has some problems though. I mean, there's the plastic concern with some things, but ultimately the biggest problem is the fact that it can't do everything that the KitchenAid can do. Like the Ankarsrum can do, I'll say most of what the KitchenAid can do, but also has a larger capacity. The Ooni has a larger capacity, but just simply can't do everything that the KitchenAid can do. It can't do really small amounts of stuff. It can't beat things as well. Yeah, I mean, it's got that fundamental limitation. So if you were thinking of replacing your KitchenAid with an Ooni, you're just not going to be able to do everything that you did before. I'm probably going to sell the Ankarsrum and keep the KitchenAid and the Ooni together. I have the space for that. So that's probably what I'm going to do. If I was really tight on space, I would probably just keep the KitchenAid. And just suck up the fact that making, you know, large, or I say large, like a kilogram of bread dough is going to be very difficult or borderline impossible on the tiny KitchenAid. And except the fact that it just doesn't knead as well as the Spiral Pro. I'm not super tight on space, so I will be keeping the KitchenAid and the Ooni. Thank you for watching my video. Hope it was interesting. Don't bother subscribing because I probably won't do another one of these.